Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Laura and welcome to my new series called One Question With, where I dive deeper with carnivore experts and people that I have learned from to ask them one question and maybe a couple of follow-up questions. I think it's really helpful just to dive into like one concept or topic and give you some bite-sized information that you can apply in your journey to improve your health. It's only fitting today that I am joined by Dr. Shawn Baker because that's where I first heard about a carnivore diet over 7 years ago. His information and the way that he explains carnivore in such a simple way was instrumental in my husband and I radically changing our lives and improving our health. And so I wanted to dig into that today. Why carnivore? And all of those follow-up questions that I had for him. Before we dive into the interview, I want to take a second and let you know that this video is sponsored by Element. Element is the electrolyte supplement that I have been taking for years. Before I started using Element in these convenient packets, I was just pouring salt in my water and the ratio was kind of all over the place. And so now I have these convenient packets that I just pour into my 32 or 40 ounce water and I get the perfect ratio of the sodium, magnesium, and potassium I need. It dissolves perfectly and I can just go about my day knowing that I'm getting the hydration that I need. Element has a deal for all my subscribers where you can get a free sample pack with purchase. You can go to drinkelement.com/LAURAESPATH. They have a variety of flavors. We love the grapefruit one. Chris loves the chocolate caramel in his coffee. My kids love the citrus and turn it into like a little limeade. They also have 100% money back, no questions asked, guarantee, so you can try out them all, see which one you like best, and they will ensure your customer satisfaction. So don't forget to go to drinkelement.com/LAURAESPATH to get that free sample pack with your purchase. Thanks to Element for sponsoring this video. Thank you so much for joining me today, Dr. Baker. I'm super excited to chat with you and answer this big looming question about carnivore and why carnivore. But I actually heard about carnivore almost 7 years ago now from you. And that's where my husband and I both started our journey, was hearing an interview that you did about carnivore. And that kind of like really shaped the trajectory of my life. So I'm very grateful for the message that you share and excited to have your expert opinion and your expert advice on be able to share that with my audience. So tell us a little bit about who you are and how did you end up in this world of being a carnivore doctor?
Yeah, so I'm Dr. Shawn Baker. I am by training an orthopedic surgeon, which means I did a lot of, spent a lot of time in the operating room, putting new knees and shoulders and hips and fixing broken bones and doing, sports medicine type surgeries for several decades. And the only reason I got into nutrition space at all is because of my own personal health. I mean, I was, minding my own business, being a doctor and doing what we normally do, which is not really pay much attention to nutrition, to be honest. And as my own health started to decline somewhat in my 40s, I didn't really like that. And I've always been an exerciser. I've always competed in sports and trained really hard, but that wasn't doing it for me. So I had to go on a kind of a nutritional journey. And long story short, I ended up on carnivore back in 2016. So I've been doing that now for 8 years. And I just noticed some really curious things that I didn't expect to happen to me, things I didn't think could happen to me, as far as things I thought were attributed to just aging. Yeah, you're just getting older, joints hurt, aches and pains, this and that. And that just went away. And I remember after 30 days, I was like, God, this is the best I felt in probably 10 or 20 years. And so that kind of certainly opened my eyes a little bit. And then I started seeing my patients. And at that time, I was still using a ketogenic diet with my patients, and they were getting, these were patients that were on my schedule for a knee replacement or hip replacement, and they would come in, we'd get them on a diet, and they would often say, hey, look, my knee doesn't hurt anymore, so we don't need the surgery, and we didn't. So that's how I kind of got here. And then, of course, as you mentioned, Rogan put me on his podcast back in 2017, and that got a lot of attention, and all of a sudden I became this crazy, kind of crazy, weird dude. And all the vegans didn't like me. And, and I'm just like, hey, I think this is something that can help people with their health. And as you know, now thousands and thousands and thousands of people have done this and all seen very similar. I would say all, but majority of them see tremendous improvements in their health. So I wrote the book, The Carnivore Diet, back in 2019. I was the first one to sort of, kind of publicly get that out there. Obviously there's a lot, it was prior to that, and there was a group of people calling it the zero carb diet, zeroing in on health, Charles Washington, Kelly Hogan, and some of the others. And I kind of, the carnivore terminology, I will take credit for as sort of being the guy that popularized that and wrote that first book. And, I went on to deal with thousands of people, with their health, with nutrition. And we founded a company called Rivero now, which is a, all 50 state digital health platform that has doctors that support carnivore and teams that help people to do what it takes to get healthy. So that's who I am in a nutshell.
I love that. And I'm excited to be able to chat with you and share. So for my audience, like, one of the questions that I think people often have is, okay, why carnivore? Why is it effective? And why couldn't you just eat healthy and in a calorie restriction in order to improve those health symptoms that you were having?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can certainly lose weight, calorie restriction, healthy diet. I think for many people, that's fine. However, and I know you're aware of that, I do see people that have tried that particular strategy and failed. Either they couldn't maintain it or it just didn't work for their particular condition, whereas a carnivore diet did. And why that is, obviously, you're cutting out all that ultra processed garbage, which I think is a huge problem for most people. I mean, we got all this we don't even know what some of these ingredients do. I mean, seriously, we just don't know what they do long term, because we don't have studies on that. So, I mean, that's one thing. I think the fact that it is high quality nutrition, there should be no doubt that meat is a super nutrient dense, well tolerated, bioavailable food that is uniquely satiating, which is another part of, for instance, weight loss depends on, dealing with hunger, and that certainly helps with that. For many people, the absence of even so-called healthy fruits and vegetables, for some people, it's just an inflammatory, irritating, gut irritating issue. And some people are uniquely sensitive to those, and that eliminates that. So it helps you to solve, I mean, I think it would be somewhat foolish to think that every single wild plant, fruit, and vegetable that's out there is completely tolerated by everybody. I don't think anybody would even disagree with that. They would say, there's some people that don't do well with, you pick the food in there. But then to say that, well, if there's a problem with one, why couldn't there be a problem with other ones? And then what's the total effect? And I think that the other thing about a carnivore diet, it's simple. I mean, it doesn't require a lot of, just painfully calculating and trying to plan things out. It's just, hey, eat some meat and eggs, whatever. And most people will do quite well with that. I think it is, like I said, it often, because a lot of times you have people that struggle with addictions. I think food addiction is quite real, particularly addictions to these ultra processed foods, which are designed to be addictive. I mean, it's, you design a food to be addictive, and you're saying, oh, there's no such thing as food addiction. Well, you design the product to be that way. It's not surprising there are people. And so sometimes people need to abstain rather than moderate. I think abstinence, you'd never tell an alcoholic, hey, just dial it back during a week and you put down a couple of margaritas on the weekend and you'll be fine. I mean, that works for some people, but for many people it doesn't. So I think there's, I think the gut is a, if we think about our interface with the environment, a lot of people think, what's the biggest interface we have with the outside world? Some people think, our skin's our largest organ, but really the surface area of our skin is average 1.73 square meters, and it's waterproof and it's designed to keep stuff out. Whereas our gut, the size of our gut, which is actually external to our body, people don't know that, but our mouth, esophagus, stomach, intestines are all external to our body. The surface area of our gut is about the size of a tennis court, when you look at it, with all the little villi and microvilli, and it's designed to bring things in. If it wasn't designed to bring things in, we would all starve to death, right? We have to be able to absorb things. Skin's keeping stuff out. Gut is bringing things in. 70% of our immune system faces our gut for that very reason. And I think when we have a damaged gut, and I think food is the primary thing that damages our gut. There are other things, but food is probably the most common one. Then that leads to downstream effects and disease. And when you are able to improve our gut health, then often those diseases improve. And I think carnivore does that for many people fairly reliably.
And you touched on two major reasons why it's been effective for myself and for so many people I talk to, and that's just the negative reactions that you can get from a lot of plants and fruit. But the huge piece of it's the addiction piece. And I agree, there's so many of us that just do so much better with abstinence from those things versus trying to learn to moderate those things. And the there's no nutritional benefit that you're getting by incorporating something like fruit, that I guess is there from, that you're not getting from consuming those things. Is there anything that you're missing out on?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you think about why do we eat as a human, as a species, and I mean, there's pretty clear indication what we have to obtain. We have to obtain essential amino acids, essential fats. We have to have vitamins and minerals and some form of energy. I mean, and water, you could say water as well. And you certainly can get all that stuff on an animal-based diet without any fruit, vegetables, or things like that. Interestingly, I think if we say that as a purpose of our nutrition and eating is to absorb all that necessary stuff, a lot of times a plant-focused diet, fiber-rich diet, does the exact opposite. That you put all this stuff in your gut, but you can't absorb much of it. In fact, it actively prevents absorption, competes and binds to these things. So that what happens is you just end up making larger bowel movements, and much of that nutrition ends up in the toilet. So you can lose weight that way, right? Certainly you can. But the problem is you do it at the expense of decreasing your overall nourishment. Now, that may be better than the standard junk food diet where everything's getting absorbed proximally in the, high up in the gut, because it's basically powder, and the absorption characteristics have been so altered that everything's getting, pulled in. And so in the context of a standard American diet, yeah, a fiber-rich fruit and vegetable diet is probably going to lead to weight loss and therefore secondarily perhaps better health. But I think it's still not as effective as something that naturally suppresses your appetite, all the while you're absorbing all the nutrients you need. And so I think that's a better strategy.
Without any kind of prescription or, medical injection or anything like that, you're able to get that satiation.
Yeah, we live in a time with the Ozempic shots and all the GLP-1 receptor agonists, which are now coming out to be shown to lead to bone mineral density loss, muscle loss, pancreatitis, suicidality, weight regain as soon as you come off it. And a lot of times people will go on these drugs, lose a bunch of weight. Most of it will be, a large percentage will be muscle. They go off the drug, then they'll get all their fat back, and now they got all their fat back, but they have less muscle, and so they've now become arguably worse, unless they stay on the drugs the rest of their life, which is what the pharmaceutical companies want, because that's that, $10,000 a year recurring money they're going to get. And so this is the model there. And so, yeah, I mean, I think if you can solve a problem without drugs, with diet, nutrition, and lifestyle, far, far better outcomes.
And I think that goes along to my last why is like, why do you think there's so much pushback from, mainstream health or just the general population of thinking that the carnivore diet is so dangerous?
Well, I think some of it is to do with lack of ignorance in general about what's actually going on, not understanding the human body, how the physiology works, reliance on data sets that are not, involving the people that are concerned here. This is a population of people that hasn't really been studied. I think the best thing you could say is we don't know. I think that's fair. Is it going to prolong my life or shorten my life? I don't know. I don't know that we have the data to that. But to say, to make the assumption that, we think that not eating fruits and vegetables and eating a bunch of meat is now bad based on, standard American diet data, which is, the average American, this is an interesting fact. The average American, when it comes to like unprocessed red meat, like steak, hamburger, 1 ounce a day is what we eat on average as Americans. It's in total, it's like a little over 2 ounces, and a lot of that's in the form of processed meat. But 1 ounce a day of unprocessed meat is what's driving all the disease epidemic? I don't think so. I don't think that's plausible. I mean, I know it's not, in fact. And then, of course, there are people that are financially, at risk. They're at risk if people stop eating their ultra processed garbage. The dietitians groups are funded by these companies. Coca-Cola, Nabisco, whatever, Danone, and all these companies that fund these dietitians groups. They're going to say, oh, you need to eat this. Even the USDA, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, their job is to sell commodities, commodity crops, corn, wheat, soybeans, sugar, things like that. And if we say, hey, no thanks, that's a problem for a lot of people. So there are financial implications, and there's financial risk for people. If more people widely adopt a diet, it eliminates all this kind of garbagey food out of their diet. And so I think that's probably the major reasons why you see such pushback.
So you have improved your, negative health symptoms that you were experiencing before, and you've been doing this for a long time. So why don't you ever just go back to normal or add more foods in regularly? Like why are you still carnivore after all these years?
Yeah, after 8 years, one, I like the simplicity. I enjoy the diet. Obviously I have somewhat of a vested interest given that I've been promoting it for so long. So I should at least walk the walk, I think.
Yeah.
But honestly, I mean, I have, through periods of times where I'll add things back in occasionally. And without exception, it always makes me feel worse. And I'm like, granted, it'd be nice to have I told my daughter, I said, hey, if chocolate cake was healthy, and I'd eat chocolate cake every day, but it's not. So I can't do that. And so for me, I thoroughly enjoy what I eat. In fact, what I got today? I got a New York strip cooking away right now in the sous vide, which I'll be having in about an hour from now. And I'm going to thoroughly enjoy that. I'll have a couple eggs with that. And that to me is I don't like necessarily miss the other foods. It's not that I don't think the other things would still taste good to me. Like every once in a while, once or twice a year, I'll have something that's not carnivore. I'm not a purist about this, but at the same time, I do what allows me, I'm very much interested in, feeling well, being healthy, but also performing, performing at a good, because I like to compete as an athlete. And there's a lot of things I'd like to do as I, getting close to turning 60 now, that the carnivore diet allows me to perform better as an athlete. And so that's kind of why I continue to do this. And I'm also curious. I mean, I'm not going to be here to say I'm only going to do this for the rest of my life, because I don't know. I don't tell anybody to say that either, because you never know what's going to happen. There may be some time in my life where I decide, hey, I'm going to eat a more mixed diet. 8 years in, I don't see it anytime soon, but who knows?
And there's something about the whole experience of having the cutting board and the big steak and the big knife. Like it's just a whole experience. So who could not enjoy that? I'm with you on that.
Well, I mean, I don't drink coffee, but I understand a lot of people have their coffee ritual. It's almost like, the smell, the aroma, brewing the coffee, mixing the cream and whatever they put in there. And I just never got into coffee, but I mean, it is like cooking the steak. It's almost like an art, it's like you just kind of get that perfect sear and that really nice internal temperature. And I know it's goofy, and a lot of people make fun of, oh, you look stupid with a big knife. But I will tell you, a big, nice knife, a big, sharp knife, it makes the eating experience nicer, because it's that nice smooth cut, and the meat isn't all like shredded up and ripped like when you're trying to cut it with a butter knife. And the cutting board just is easier on the knives. It's easier on the cleanup. I mean, I rinse the cutting board, soap and water, and I got a knife and a fork. And I mean, that's it. That's all. That's pretty much my dishes for the day. So I'm very minimalistic when it comes to all that stuff, because I cook everything on the grill. So there's no, other than cleaning the grill out from time to time. It's pretty easy and efficient.
Our family is very much aligned with that. I know you share, so I'll let you say, not only do you walk the walk and share on social media, but you also do a lot of science and research, and have done a lot of studies. And so where can people find more information if they want to dig into the facts and the science that you have, and just work with your team, and as far as a medical consultation, where can they find you?
Yeah, so I want to shout out Rivero. This is our company. We founded it about a year ago, and we should be in all 50 states by the end of March. We're in about 35 states right now. And so we have physicians that most of them are carnivore themselves, or have done carnivore, are very supportive of carnivore. They understand the nuance in dealing with patients with their labs, because a lot of times you go to a doctor and you're on carnivore, and your labs might not look like they're expecting to see, and they give you a hard time. Our physicians are lined better up. We've got coaching team. I mean, the thing I found, again, like we talked about, a lot of people are dealing with, and when someone has a chronic disease, I think you have to deal with the nutrition side. And I think a lot of times when you're dealing with the nutrition side, you're also dealing with some sort of addictive type stuff. And so that requires, in my experience, a lot of support. And the nice thing about it is we've got a team that will talk to people every day if they need to. I mean, help them. We've got all kinds of, they're uploading their data every day that we can look at and make adjustments as time goes by. So it's a really a good way to fix these chronic disease issues. So if somebody's interested in that, Revero.com, it's REVERO.com. I share, studies as they come out. I'm also in the background. I mean, our company will be publishing data as we are collecting data on our patients. We'll be publishing that to show our outcomes, both as far as clinical data as well as cost savings data, because I think that's an important aspect as well. And then I'm always, I'm in the background helping studies to be done. I've helped to organize several of them, helped to fund some of them, and we'll be continuing to do that. So there's a bunch of case reports coming out on Carnivore. We've done IBS, we've done mental health, we've done anorexia, we've got multiple sclerosis in the works, we've got psoriasis in the works, we've got interventional trials on diabetes coming. And so, the science is getting more and more robust. And again, we're at the beginning of this stuff. And as I said, I don't want to mislead somebody and tell them going carnivore will make you live longer, prevent heart disease, prevent cancer, because that's unknown. At best you can say we don't know. What I can say is it's likely to make your disease get better or make you feel better or have a better quality of life, which I think is really, really important. I think that is something that physicians should really focus on, is getting their patients healthy in the here and now. And all the other stuff is really speculative. When we start talking about stuff 20, 30, 40, 50 years down the road, we really don't have any good way to know those things.
Well, I appreciate your time today. And as we wrap up, I just want to, what's one tip that you would have for people if they are getting started on a carnivore diet?
If you're getting started on a carnivore diet, one, I think just enjoy it. I mean, have fun. Don't get too lost in the minutiae. Just find a place, find somebody who's got some good recipes. If you like to be a foodie, and just, keep it simple, enjoy your food. That's because no diet is going to be successful for you if you don't like the food, if you're hungry all the time. I think to be, whatever your goal may be, whether it's to lose 20 pounds or put your diabetes in remission or put your autoimmune condition in remission, I think the first goal is to address the relationship you have with food. And I think that starts with nourishing yourself adequately. How much should I eat? Eat enough, steak or whatever, so that you don't want cupcakes or chocolate bars or pizzas or whatever it might be. That's how I tell people to start. Get that under control. It might take a couple months, and then you can start, shifting around and playing with the various variables that you can play with.
Well, thank you very much. You're reiterating so many things that I have heard from you over the years that have made such an impact on me and my journey and how our family approaches this. So I'm really grateful for sharing today, and then also just everything you've shared over the years. So keep it up. Enjoy your steak for lunch.
All right. Thanks, Laura. Say hi to Chris for me. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.